My name's Annette Devitt. I'm a fiber artist. I mainly do weaving, but I also spin and I knit. I'm also a watercolor painter, and I'm starting to dabble or try pastels as well. And I'm also owner of Homecoming Art Studio in Pennsville. I was very excited because this May was going to be my first time having Arts in Bloom at my studio. I've participated with Third Star Fiber Guild for multiple years. I also hosted or had my house be one of the sites for a couple years. Wasn't able to be part of it Arts in Bloom last year, so this was going to be the year. And it still will be the year when we all come together and you come visit my studio in November. But when the governor's stay-at-home orders came out, I decided to load it up the car, and I put lots of stuff in it to have projects for me to work on for quite a while. And one of the things I put in my car was this loom. So I've been able to do some weaving with this loom and doing a lot of scarves with it. And that's one of the things I weave. I weave scarves. You can see a lot of them right here. I also make shawls. I do rugs, table runners, and also yardage for fabric that I then use to make clothing. So I do a lot of different things, and I do it on a lot of different looms. And if you come to my studio in November, you'll get to see all the looms I have there. But one of the things I really like doing and been doing a lot of lately in the last actual couple of years is doing scarves where I actually dye the warp. That's the lengthwise yarns and up and down. And I learned that in a workshop I took in 2017. I put the technique into action for Arts in Bloom 2018. That year was our 10th anniversary for Arts in Bloom. So for the theme, I decided to look and check out what the Pantone color of the year was for the 10 years of Arts in Bloom. So what I did that year is I got yarn that was pretty close to that Pantone color, and I used it for the weft, the crosswise direction. And then I dyed warp long lengthwise direction yarns in colors to go with the Pantone colors of the year. I've continued to use the technique, but lately I've been doing more scarves that the inspiration, I call it inspired by nature. So I found that I had a lot of great nature pictures from some old calendars from the Sierra Club and the Audubon Society. And in those calendars, those pictures had wonderful colors. So I decided if the photo looked good, the colors looked good, it probably would look good in a scarf too. So that's why I use those as inspiration for the scarves that I make. And a lot of these here are my inspired by nature scarves. For instance, this scarf is pretty bright colors. But this scarf was inspired by a picture of a brightly colored hummingbird. And then there's other scarves are a little more subtle. For instance, this one has a little more pastel colors. But this one was inspired by a picture of a setting sun with some fading color and over some water. So this was the inspiration that came for that. And when I dye these warps, then the trick now is to find colors, the colors that go crosswise, to go with the yarn that I've dyed to make what I say. I like to make the warp yarns sing. So I want to find the colors that look good with that and really enhance all the work that I've done in the dyeing of the scarves as well. Now, so color is very important in my dyeing process, but color is also important in my watercolor paintings. And then what happens with watercolor paintings, you also add an extra element when you add the water. So that's what takes some understanding and takes some learning in the whole process. I started doing watercolor paintings in 2009. I had gone to an Arts in Bloom tour, and I ended up taking lessons from the late Alex Lampe. So that was my early inspiration for my watercolor painting. If you look at my watercolor paintings, you'll see that I have more of a realistic style than a loose style. That's just a choice and a technique that I feel more comfortable with. I do paint a lot of different subject matter. I do still life, I do things from nature. I've done some plein air contest, which is when you go outdoors and paint, and then you're actually finishing painting within a few hours instead of days or weeks. So that's a fun challenge. What I like painting most, though, I would say, is people. I enjoy capturing people in photographs. I've taken a lot of photographs from my travels, and I always think of about it as I have a lot of faces from many places. And what I do when I try to paint those folks is I try to capture something about the person, capture the spirit of that person. You can see a lot in the eyes. You can tell when a person's smiling by their eyes, because their eyes also smile too. I found that even in the grocery store today with people with face masks, that you could tell if they were smiling as you walked by and said, "Excuse me." When you come to my studio, there's the weaving area, there's a place where I paint, and then there's also a really great area for teaching. I teach many of the classes. I teach beginning weaving, beginning knitting, and we have like a hula hoop rug and a variety of other classes. But then I also have some other guests come in lecture, including Yvonne Mucci. She teaches watercolor. Darlene Peterzak teaches the beginning crochet. So there's a lot of different people that are teaching, and then people coming to the studio to take classes. So I will be excited to have you come see the studio in November 28th and 29th. The studio is located across from Greystone Cafe, right next to the police station in Pennsville. And if you can't wait till November to come to the studio, I've been having a homecoming day on the anniversary of my opening of the studio. This year will be August 15th, and I hope you can come then. We have a display of student work at the studio then too. My goal with the studio is for it to be a place for people to create and to educate folks so they can then create. And I also want it to be a place where it feels people come back to and it feels like home. So I hope you'll join me for Arts in Bloom in the fall, and you can see what the Homecoming Studio is all about, and you can keep coming back. Thank you. See you in November.